श्री श्रीनिकुञ्ज विहारिणे नमः। श्री राधारमण विजयते। श्री श्री राधा मदन गोपाल विजयते। For one who has worshipped Lord Hari, artificial austerity is useless, and for one who has not worshipped Lord Hari, no amount of austerity can give him perfection. So, if both of them remain aloof from the performance of austerity, then for what kind of people has it been recommended? This question is put by Sharat Kumar to his father Brahma. He asked, "My dear father, I am only a boy. Kindly explain to me who is the proper candidate for performing austerity and what kind of penance should be undertaken." Then the spiritual master of the universe, Brahma, became somewhat doubtful, and so he immediately began to meditate within his heart on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, who is like a desire tree. By meditating on the lotus feet for just a short while, Brahma, the creator of the universe, received the desired conclusion, and so he began his explanation with confidence. Brahma said, "I am indeed fortunate to have a son like you, for you are the spiritual master of many learned personalities. A father should be very happy if he has a son who is a devotee of Lord Vishnu and a staunch follower of religious principles. My dear son, you are certainly glorious, learned, and devoted to Lord Hari. The labor required for performing austerity is useless for one who has obtained the lotus feet of Lord Hari. There is no need to work hard executing austerities either in sleep or in wakefulness for a person who has attained the lotus feet of Lord Hari, the controller of all. If a foolish person who is the lowest of mankind is averse to Lord Krishna, then no amount of visiting holy places, giving charity, penance, pity or vows can purify him, even if he happens to be a Brahmin. A most foolish person and a person who is on the platform of pure devotional service are both happy. It is those who are in between these two are the right persons to perform austerities. Such a person on the middle platform should show respect to the demigods while being engaged in austerities for the purpose of attaining the lotus feet of Lord Hari. There is nothing more for him to accomplish. A householder devotee should not merely remain attached to family life, enjoying the fruits of his previous karma. He should simultaneously accept some austerity with a desire to achieve shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. It is the most desirable and highest duty of everyone to worship Lord Krishna, meditate on him, chant his holy names, drink the water that has washed his lotus feet, and honor his remnants of food. As a result of their past misdeeds, some extremely foolish Brahmanas remain under the spell of illusion due to accepting an unqualified spiritual master. Because of this, they are without proper understanding of Lord, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature. Whether in full knowledge or in ignorance, or because of the association of a saintly person, it is certainly one's good fortune if he honors the remnants of food that were offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear son, one who partakes of Lord's remnants on the strength of his good fortune becomes freed from all sinful reactions and ultimately attains the abode of Lord. saying this, Brahma started telling the story of a Brahmin of Kanyakubja. There was a most foolish, sinful Brahmana who lived in Kanyakubja. He was the priest of his entire village, and he maintained himself by worshipping the demigods in exchange of money. He never performed any pious activities, either knowingly or unknowingly, and he never worshipped Lord Krishna. In fact, he didn't even like to speak to, see or touch the devotees of Lord Krishna. In that condition, he somehow achieved some rare good fortune. That Brahmana, due to his previous piety, received a small quantity of the Lord's remnants of food. On the strength of his father's piety, the sinful Brahmana happened to find a small portion of the remnants of Lord's food lying on the road. By good fortune, he ate some of the prasad which had already been eaten by his Vaishnava father. Although these remnants of the Lord's food, which consisted of some rice that was completely covered with dust due to lying by the side of the road for a long time, had become dry, the Brahmana joyfully relished it. He mixed the rice with some other food and honored it with great satisfaction. Both the Brahmana and his son were greatly afflicted by the hunger, and after eating the remnants of Lord's food, they returned to their residence. Thereafter, the Brahmana's chaste wife also ate a small portion of the remnants of Lord's food. As a result of this, that exalted lady, the wife of the Brahmana, became completely purified. The Brahmana and his son also became liberated in their present lives. In due course of time, a tiger attacked the Brahmana and who had eaten the Lord's remnants and ate his flesh. As a result of that piety, the tiger along with her cub went back to Godhead. After eating the Lord's prasada, the wife of the Brahmana continued her life of piety and chastity. At the time of her husband's death, she ascended the funeral pyre so that both of them could enjoy life happily without any disturbance in their next birth. Sanat Kumara asked, "O father, how wonderful this is! I truly relish your description of the glories of the remnants of Sri Krishna's food. Now kindly describe this incident to me more elaborately." Then Brahma said, once a Brahmana took his son and went to his friend's house in a very happy mood. He had been invited to attend a marriage, and so he went there carrying gifts. After enjoying a sumptuous meal, he returned home. "O my son," becoming hungry and thirsty on the way back home, the Brahmana and his son came to the beautiful river Chandrabhaga. The son said, "O father, I am very hungry and thirsty. Let us bathe in the river and then have something to eat." The Brahmana replied, "My dear son, this dense forest by the side of the river is extremely fearful. We will soon come to a village where there is a nice lake. Let us bathe in that lake and then have our meal. Just be happy and continue walking." Upon hearing this, the son smiled but was actually very angry. Indeed, he looked at his father with eyes that were as red as a lotus and spoke as follows. The child said, "I am a 10-year-old boy and you are an old man, experienced and wise. It's always the custom that a father imparts knowledge to his son. The influence of time is very difficult to overcome. However, for although old, a man sometimes speaks like a child. O father, can you tell me how to reverse the course of destiny?" "My dear father, it is the result of one's past deeds that causes a person to experience distress, happiness, lamentation, fear, natural death, premature death, a long duration of life, or a short duration of life. No one can change how a person's death will occur because it is fixed by destiny. As soon as a living entity is put into the womb of his mother, his future course of action is determined. No one can reverse it. Even Lord Vishnu and Mahadev are not able to change the circumstances of death of a particular person at the hands of another person, because it is already fixed by the Creator. O Father, you are evil-minded, and so your very life and study of the scriptures are useless. Only the life of an intelligent person becomes successful and a source of happiness. He who has made swans white, parrots green, and peacocks enchanting will certainly protect me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has created innumerable universes and who is giving protection to all moving and non-moving living entities, will certainly protect me. If a person is protected by Krishna, he will survive even if he sleeps in a dense forest. And if one is destined to die by the arrangement of providence, he will die even while remaining at home. As a result of one's pious deeds, one may not die even if he sleeps on a bed of snakes or is bitten by snakes. But if he is unfortunate, he may die out of fear upon seeing Garuda. No one dies because of the ocean, fire, poison, or a weapon, because it is one's allotted duration of life that protects him. Until the time is ripe, one doesn't die, even if he is pierced by hundreds of arrows. However, when his allotted time is over, a man may die simply by being hit by a blade of grass. Some people die within the womb, some die soon after they are born, some die in the prime of youth, and some give up their bodies at an old age. As a result of their karma, some live for a long time, some suffer diseases, some live without any disease, some are rich and others remain poor. According to destiny, one may live for as long as a kalpa, or one may even become immortal. Therefore, it must be concluded that the will of providence is the principal cause of one's duration of life. According to their respective karma, one living entity becomes a king among kings and travels in a divine vehicle, while another living entity becomes an insect, worm, bird, or a beast. According to karma, someone becomes a saintly person or a renunciate. Someone else becomes a sinful killer of human beings. Still, another person travels on the back of the best of the elephants, and yet another living being becomes an animal and has to carry human beings. Some people have a propensity to constantly giving away huge amount of wealth in charity. Some people earn their livelihood simply by begging alms. Some people dress themselves in fine silk cloth, and some people remain satisfied while wearing torn clothes. Some people remain naked. Some people live without much food. Some people enjoy nectar. Some people possess great opulence, and some people suffer from leprosy. Some people are hunchbacked. Some people are deformed. Some people are deaf. Some people are blind. Some people are tall. Some people are medium height. Some are short in stature, and some people are lame. Some people are black in complexion, some are fair, according to the karma performed in a previous birth. It is only by great fortune that one attains the rarely achieved service of the Lord by the help of devotional service performed in the past. Some people attain the Supreme Brahman where there is no birth, death, or old age. Some people attain Brahmaloka where there is no question of disease. Some go to heaven, some achieve the position of Indra, some go to Shivaloka, and according to their karma, some are transferred to the heavenly planets or to the abode of Yamaraj. Some become degraded to hellish conditions and suffer unlimitedly. They may suffer perpetually due to hunger and thirst while being punished by the Yamadutas. Some take birth as worms in stool and urine and eat mucus, phalgum, and the stool of poisonous insects. Some live on the edge of a blade, in boiling oil, in fire, in water, and in cool places. O Father, in this way, sinful people suffer severe miseries for thousands of births. Therefore, the will of the Lord, they are born again in a diseased condition before finally becoming liberated. Out of fear of God, the wind is blowing, the sun is shining, Indra is supplying rain, fire burns, and death takes its toll on the living entities. All the while, Kurma and Ananta Sesha sustain and protect the creation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is present everywhere. By His own sweet will, He gives protection to one and all. By His will, the earth has taken the responsibility for sustaining everyone. By the Lord's will, the earth has become filled with all kinds of prosperity, and the Himalayas have become the possessor of countless jewels. The Creator Brahma meditates on the Supreme Lord throughout the day and night. Mahadev, who has conquered death, also meditates on Him and worships Him. Lord Ananta, with his 1,000 heads, also worships and meditates on Him. Goddess Saraswati offers prayers to Him because of her worshipful Lord. O Father, Lakshmi, who sits on the lotus flower, personally serves the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. The material energy, our Maya, our goddess Durga, as well as the four Vedas and Savitri, the mother of the Vedas, continuously offer Him prayers. The foremost of perfected personalities, the most respected sages, the topmost yogis, such as Sanaka, the best of kings, the most powerful demons, the leaders of the demigods, and the 14 Manus continuously offer Him prayers in glorification. Saintly persons and devotees constantly worship Him and meditate on Him. Learned persons have ascertained Him to be the eternal, supreme personality of Godhead. Some people are addressing Him as the unmanifest cause of the material nature. Some refer to Him as the full of effulgence. Some accept Him as the cosmic form that encompasses all, and some call Him the cause of all causes. Some people say that the Lord assumes forms out of His own sweet will just to bestow causeless mercy upon His devotees. Some address Him as Lord Shyamasundara, who is the eternal, enchanting, supreme Brahman. My dear Father, worship Lord Govinda, the son of Nanda, the master of the demigods and the most blissful personality of Godhead. He is the Almighty Lord. After saying this to his father, the Brahmana boy bathed in Chandrabhaga, drank its pure water, and then ate some laddus.